Hey everyone, it's Justin. Thank you for watching and welcome to my house. That's Justin's house. In this video, I have part 4. Yes, part 4. I was only going to do 3 parts on this project-to-project sync between ServiceNow and Jira, but when I edited part 3, I realized I made a mistake. It's not too big of a mistake. It's going to be really obvious if you didn't catch it already. I've got the flow up here behind me. This is the simple flow I have to synchronize Jira user information with ServiceNow user information by putting the user information in a one-to-one table, right? So that's all that's happening here. And I can't believe I missed this, but basically I have it running every Wednesday for me. You could run this every day. You could run this several times a day if you wanted, but I only codified or thought about the create kind of scenario and not like, oh, the record might already be there and we don't need to create it again. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just trying to get to a fix to get rid of what I was doing. So let's fix this real quick. Let's go take a look at that table. There we go. I got my table here, so I'm going to show list. I don't think this has run since I last did it. Yeah, so there's just me. So if I'm right, if I run this again, it's going to create another row of just me. And that's not what we want. We don't want this running and creating several rows because that's just a waste of time for the system and it's a waste of space in the database. So let's go just refresh that, see if it does like I think it's going to do. Yes, it created me twice. We don't want it to do that, everybody. So let's go ahead and delete that extra one and we'll fix this flow. We're going to do the flow a similar way we did the project, right? Remember the project flow, the sync projects flow? There was kind of a, hey, is it already there? If it is, update it. And if it's not already there, we're using a try catch to do that. If it's not already there, then create it. So we're going to do something similar with the users that we did with the project. So you can see it there. If it's already created, update it. If not, go ahead and create it. We need the same exact flow for the users. So let's fix it. We are going to, for each user in the lookup stream, before we look up the user record, we're actually going to look up and see if they're inside of our table already. So let's go ahead and do a lookup. That took a ridiculously amount of time, so I'm going to go ahead and shorten that for you. But we're going to look up and see if they are in our Jira users table. Remember my trick here, hit done, open it again, and see if that table is ready. Just give it a minute. It's basically going through the entire system and populating this drop down with all the tables, so that could take a second. Jira users, there we go. And we'll match on the email address, of course. So we'll look at the, in the Jira user table, there should be a reference to the user. Gosh, there it is, user, and then we should have email address. So we'll see if they already exist in our table, and we'll match that to the for loop, the lookup user stream, which is step number 1. Okay, I can't do it. Let me go back up here. For each item, oh, it is 1. Okay, so it's right. For some reason, I was thinking that wasn't a for loop because it didn't say for each object here. So, okay, user object, look up users in stream, user, and then we want email address. Okay, so we're going to look up and see if they're there. If they are, we don't need to do this. This is going to be what we do if we fail, right? So let's go ahead and move these down to if an error occurs. Okay, let's move this one down first. Let's see if that actually works. I don't know if this is, I'm probably gonna have to redo some stuff, but that's okay. So we'll move 4 and 5 down to right there. Okay, so if an error occurs, it's gonna look up the email address and then create the Jira user record. If it does find it, then we just need to update the record. So let's go to action and then update record. And what we'll do is say the record we want to update is the one we just looked up. So let's just go to that one, look up record, the Jira user record. And the only thing to update is the account ID, right? So let's go ahead and do Jira account ID and set it. So in theory, I guess, that account ID could change for some reason. The email gets associated with a different account and we need to update it in the table. And then if it's not able to look it up, then it's going to go ahead and look up the user record where the email matches and create the Jira user record. So we want it to do that, right? So let's go ahead and save this. While that's saving, I'm actually going to delete me entirely because we need to make sure that it still creates. We need to test both scenarios, that it creates and that it updates. So let's go ahead and delete that and go back here to Flow Designer. It is saved. Let's go ahead and test. Now we're expecting in this test, it should create that. It shouldn't try to update anything because it doesn't exist. It'll fail in this try step and instead it should go ahead and create it. So let's go back to the table and let's go ahead and refresh the list. And it didn't make it into my my creation step. So for some reason that try actually worked. I don't know why. Well, let's go. Oh, dude, I have to do it again. We'll click on the history, see if we get an error message. Yeah, we're getting an error message. All right. So the lookup error caught there. And then when it did the after step 2, the lookup there, oh, this is the same error we were getting before, where it was causing an issue where it didn't find anything. So we still needed another try catch within our try catch. Duh, I should have known that. So okay, we can close this project 1 here, cancel out of there. Okay, so this, I moved this out of the try because it doesn't need to be at this part, but it still needs its own try catch in case it fails. So let's go ahead and add flow logic. We'll do a try there, and we'll move that back into that step. So it's going to try that, and then if that works, it's going to go ahead and create it. And that way, if it doesn't work, it won't stop the entire flow like you just saw it did, because on the first email it couldn't find it, it errored out and stops the flow. We don't want that behavior. We want to catch the error and then keep on moving is what we want. So now that we fixed that, let's just refresh our table, make sure, even though it failed, that there's nothing there. We're good, and we'll go ahead and test, run test, and we'll click on the test results, and everything worked as it should. So we should have one account in here, and that's me with my account ID. Nope, the user didn't work, so it is not working even like it did before. All right, time to troubleshoot. I got a lot of good feedback in the other videos that you guys like the troubleshooting, so I'm going to keep the troubleshooting in. All right, let's take a look at this again. So for every user in the stream, it's going to try to look up the record. If it finds it, it's going to update it. And then if that lookup fails, it's going to try to look up a user record. Oh, I know what. I bet when, no, email is not empty, email is, and then look up the email address. Okay, so that's all good. And then create the Jira user record, select, ooh, look at that. All right, so when I move that, it doesn't have the reference to the record anymore, so let's go ahead and fix that. That was step number 7, look up record, and it'll be, so I did it actually, I think if I remember the video right, I did the user record and then I did the sys is how I was doing that. And then the Jira account ID is going to be step number 1, the account ID, which is correct. That's what we want there. It looks a little funny on the previous screen, but okay, done, save. And let's delete this again. See, that's funny, the 557058, that shouldn't be there, but let's delete that. Delete, and let's just check it one more time. So an error occurs because they're not in the table, and then so now we're going to try to look up the user record where the email is not empty, and the email is the email address that's in the lookup user stream. Okay, so that's what worked before. And then that only returns one record, and then it creates a Jira user record by us passing the user information from the previous step and the account ID from the lookup user stream. So that's done, and that's ready to test. Since it's already saved, we'll run the test. And now we should have an account ID and my user account when we go look at the table once this finishes here. So I think it was just that one missing data pill on there. Let's cross our fingers and our toes, and yes, it worked. So I've got my Jira account ID and my user information. So now we want to test the update step. So let's go ahead and open this record. I guess I could have just clicked on the blue link. And to test the update step, we're just going to put some nonsense in here. We're like, test for YouTube, right? So now this doesn't match what it should be, which is that account ID. And it's okay because it's going to be looking up the username when it does this update step at the top, right? So it's matching on email, not the account ID. So let's test it again, and what we should see is this gets fixed. It goes from test for YouTube back to the regular sys. So right now it has test for YouTube in there. We'll go ahead and run the test. Let that go. Test is finished. We should not see an extra user record or 2 like we did at the beginning. We should just see this get fixed. We'll refresh the list, and there it goes. Now it's fixed. All right, so that's what the flow should have looked like originally, but for some reason Justin forgot about the fact that that user would be in the table already. So that's the basic flow. Look them up. If they're there, update the record. If they're not there, catch that error, go ahead and create it. And in our case, when we're creating, we need to do another try and catch that error just in case the user doesn't exist in the user table. So I hope you found this 4th and last video helpful. If you did, please like, please subscribe, or share it with somebody who you think might be interested in integrating projects in ServiceNow to projects in Jira, or synchronizing users in ServiceNow with users in Jira. And until next time, don't forget to always be learning.